You check your phone before you check the sky, every single day. You know the date because a screen told you. But for most of human history, there was no screen, no calendar on the wall. Yet millions of people knew exactly when to plant and when to harvest. How? The answer is stranger than you'd expect. They were reading the stars, not for fortune-telling, for survival. Picture a medieval farmer standing in a dark field before dawn. His eyes are fixed on a small cluster of faint stars rising just before the sun. It's called the Pleiades, a cluster of hundreds of young stars that looks like a tiny smudge of light to the naked eye. To this farmer, it wasn't a smudge. It was a clock. When the Pleiades vanished into the sun's glare in spring, that meant plant now. When they reappeared before dawn in autumn, that meant winter is close. Get ready. This wasn't guesswork. It was tested for generations. Get it wrong, and your family starves. And this wasn't a single farmer's private trick. It was a shared system, checked and rechecked across an entire village, refined every year against real outcomes. A good harvest confirmed the pattern. A failed one forced a correction. Slowly, without any written science, an entire community built a working model of the sky. Here's what's remarkable. Farmers across cultures who never met arrived at the same conclusion. The Greek poet Hesiod wrote about timing the harvest by this same star cluster. Centuries later, medieval Europeans still used it, long after most had forgotten why the tradition started. Why the stars, and not the seasons themselves? Because seasons lie. A warm week in February can trick you into planting too early. But the stars don't shift. Unlike weather, the sky is honest. Here's where it gets stranger. Dwayne Hamacher, a researcher in cultural astronomy, has documented how societies across the globe, from Aboriginal Australian communities to the Andes, independently use the Pleiades as an agricultural marker. In the Andes, farmers still watch the cluster's brightness before June to predict how strong the rainy season will be. Researchers have found a real link. High-altitude clouds during El Niño years can make faint stars look dimmer. Old folklore was tracking real climate patterns, centuries before satellites existed. This wasn't superstition. It was data collection, generation after generation, without anyone realizing they were doing science at all. No instruments, no journals, just thousands of eyes, looking up at the same patch of sky, year after year, quietly building one of the oldest forecasting systems in human history. Think about what that required. No telescopes, no written charts for most of these communities. Just memory, passed from parent to child, encoded in songs and stories designed to survive being forgotten. That's the real function of myth. Not decoration, data storage. A story wrapped around a fact makes that fact survive. A myth about a hunter chasing 7 sisters into the sky is easy to remember. A raw instruction to watch a faint cluster of stars for exactly the right week each year is not. So cultures wrapped the instruction in a story, and the story carried the survival information forward for thousands of years. Now here's the twist. You still do this. Right now. You don't watch the Pleiades, but you check a weather app before deciding what to wear. You feel a strange unease when it's warm in December, when the sky doesn't match your expectations. That unease isn't random. It's the same instinct that kept a medieval farmer alive. Chronobiologists, scientists who study how living things track time, have found human circadian rhythms are still tied to light patterns in the sky, not to clocks. The wristwatch is only a few centuries old. The clock in your phone is barely a few decades old. Your body doesn't know the difference between checking a screen and checking the horizon. It only knows it needs the information to survive. So the next time you glance at your phone to check the date, remember what that glance replaced. A cold field. A farmer's eyes fixed on a small cluster of stars, reading a calendar written across the sky. You still check your phone before you check the sky. But somewhere in you, a much older habit is still running, waiting for the stars to tell you what to do next.